Hey, Brea.
Hi, Brea.
Something's wrong with her. So I think I'm going to be the one talking in this one, and she'll just ad-lib as
Congratulations.
We are so proud of you. Obviously, we're not there right now, which we wish we could be, but circumstances, work, and what have you just wouldn't allow it. But we just want to tell you how proud we are, and we thought it fitting that for your book, Rooted, we were in one of my happy places, one of our happy places.
I love it here.
And that's the garden. She eats and I grow. What can I say?
Baker's Acres.
We're proud of you. Continue pushing, continue pressing, and just do what you do best, and that's just be you. Mom and Dad would be so proud, and we are proud as an extension of them. So congratulations again on your book release, and we are looking for it to be the bestseller that it already is. Be blessed.
We love you so much.
Love you, Brea.
Happy birthday, fam.
Hey,
Loving
Brea.
you.
We love you. God's blessings upon you. We can't be there, but we still love you. You know that.
From your favorite uncle and your favorite alpha. Sorry, I led with the favorite uncle part because I'm the favorite alpha.
Short
Love
video.
Love you, Brea. Happy birthday. We celebrate and love you, darling.
Bye.
Be well.
Go ahead. Because when you put something in the ground, it gives life.
Didn't just come over here for your produce? Go back over, and you know this man. It's awesome.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Hirschman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center at West Park. We feel privileged to be the home for all of you today, to be a landmark building which creates landmark programming like the book that you, Brea, have written. We are thankful for Jamali Williams, our New York City and Gail Brewer, our city councilman, because they every day stand for the values and vision of this landmark building and fight as you are all joining the fight today to prevent this landmark building, which is filled with such extraordinary history of the first pastors who brought civil rights to New York, the first gay marriage that took place in the Presbyterian Church, Joseph Papp, who began here, and God's love we deliver. It is our responsibility that Brea and many who will come after her and those who came before her have such a sacred space in which to converse one with another, to bridge ages and communities. And we have a lot of work to do. So we hope you will join us. We will grow the community of artists and people who you know who would want an affordable space in which to perform, that need a place that isn't about an economic barrier. So we thank Gathering for Justice for choosing us as the home for this Juneteenth celebration. We hope that all of us will read this book, and thank you for being here. And just know that there is a developer and the church itself that is trying to sell this building for $34 million and demolish it. That's the only way. So it is up to all of us, of the many fights we take on, and I know you take on every day, to join in this one, as we will always join you. Just call me, and everyone will tell you I answer for any battle you want to take on. Bless you all for being here, and for those of you who organized. And now I turn this over up to Jamali.
Peace and blessings, Almighty, everybody. How you doing? Happy 15th. Great to be here with the Gathering for Justice, the Center, Councilman Brewer, and of course, Brea. Pretty dope. I probably wouldn't be there without you working on my campaign, so thank you so much. I know you picked this day by accident, so that's awesome, but you know, being black on Juneteenth means you have a dichotomy that you have to wrestle with all the time. Thankful my ancestors got to notice that they were free, and then we realized they were still going to get the liberation of freedom was supposed to come. Because we often understand, yes, we got to celebrate that, but you know, liberation means freedom to get adequate health care. Liberation means freedom of violence in the street or the state. Liberation means freedom to actually be able to afford a house where you grew up with. Liberation means all those things, and all those things that were promised have not yet been delivered. So we live in a dichotomy in a world that we have to understand and hold both of those things at the same time. So what a great book to be talking about. I know some of those lessons, and Lou has been talking about the land that was never given. We never got 40 acres of new, you know what I'm saying? They told us we would get that. We did. I just came from Harlem, where Columbia University keeps spreading their wings, and because they're spreading their wings, we can't get the housing that we need state and federal government, which I think is a handicap moment. But at that same time, we sometimes confuse black persons doing better with black people doing better. So, it's two different things. So, I don't want to lose my title. I like it. Don't take it away. But I'm always clear that the title itself is me. It has folks like me who are rising into power. 200,000 black folks that are leaving New York City because they couldn't afford to live here. And the numbers are only growing and growing and growing. So I just want to make sure folks continue to hold us accountable. You can't just come here and do nothing. You know what I mean? But what is great is that I know the folks who are in here realize that nobody created the system that Woodley is going to be speaking about because we were born into it, regardless of where you go on the privilege spectrum. But all of us have a part to play so that system changes and we bring it to the next generation. I think that's all of us can do in that. Reading and understanding what the messages are rooted, what the history is, and will help us honor that history and understand all the work that's left to be done. So thank you all for coming out and sharing this time with Brea. Thank you so much for writing this book. I'm going to try my best to get through it. Let's fit. Let's get it. I definitely have to purchase it. I'm going to try to get through it. Thank you so much for your patience. I got a citation. You help me get here. I get the citation. Let's go. The public advocate of the city of New York, the certificate is awarded to Brea Baker in recognition of dedicated service to the community and called on the occasion of the Radical Readz Juneteenth book launch on this day, June 19th. Okay, big bro.
Give another round of applause for me. New York City, mic's not on. Your mic. Oh, mic's not on. Mic check. 2, 1, switch. Casual, sexy, round. All right, can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. Let's do this again. Let's welcome New York City Council member Gail Brewer to the stage.
Thank you very much. Jamani doesn't know because he is too busy with different things. He knows that me and I served together in the city council, and that was an honor. And he voted to landmark this church with me. That was one of mine, and I thank him because that was part of what we did when we served together for 12 years in the city council. Thank you, Jamani. I'm also here because I just came from Times Square, where there was a massive, wonderful Juneteenth celebration with all the many Tony Award-winning actors and actresses from the Black community on the stage on Broadway. And there they were. It was 100 degrees sitting there, but it was fabulous to see that kind of talent. But I have to say, there are so many stories that go with Juneteenth, but this one was really special. Lisa Rashad, of course, was honored for being the first on Broadway and for now being the producer of the program. But what was more special was the story. So the story is she grew up in Houston, Texas, and her father was a dentist. And every single Juneteenth, when she was small, he would have a barbecue to celebrate Juneteenth. But then the announcer said that Juneteenth is her birthday. And so the whole place just gave her a wonderful round of happy birthday. What a great thing to have your birthday on Juneteenth and being Miss Rashad. That was very special. So I'm here to say congratulations to Debbie and everyone who makes this possible. We're working really hard to make sure that this building stays upright and continues to do the kind of support and
their brewer. It's only right that she is here. She actually opened up our Growing Up Lockdown conference in 2014, and it's been 10 years, and imagine like the relationship that we appreciate you having with us, so thank you. I'm now going to be introducing someone very, very special who's going to be doing today's blessing, and that is Dr. Tina Baker.
What an honor to be here and to experience the launching of a giant and the message that must get out. So it is my honor to pray a blessing, not just over Brea, but over the work that has to be said, has to be put out in such a large forum. And I personally want to thank Brea. As a child, I spoon-fed her what I thought was right for her to eat. I made sure what I fed her had the proper nutrition, had the proper things to help her grow and develop. But as she grew up, she began to spoon-feed me. And she opened my mind, my eyes, my heart to see that there's a lot of narratives that's not correct. And for her to say, I choose to expose it so that people can see what is the truth. So we've lived in lies for so long, but today we live in truth. Yeah. So Heavenly Father, we thank you this day for the opportunity to stand before your great people and to say, bless Rudy. Every reader, every purchaser, every person that is a part of this movement, let it just have a ripple effect beyond what our eyes can see and our ears can hear. Bless everything that is done, let it be done for your glory. Open up opportunities and doors that she could not imagine. Put her in front of kings and queens that didn't know what she had was what they needed. Today we stand together and declare that we will no longer eat from a spoon that does not provide the proper nourishment for us. But we declare that we will look and see if this is the truth or if it's not. If it's right or if it's wrong. So I declare right in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that we will walk in it, we will be bold in it, we will stand strong in it. We will declare the goodness of the Lord. And what is coming is better than what has ever been. Get ready for what's coming because eyes have not seen, ear have not heard, it hasn't even entered into the hearts what God is about to do. But what he's about to do is going to blow your mind. Get ready for the mind-blowing experience that's getting ready to take place in your boulevard, on your street, in your avenue, wherever you may be. It's going down, and I say,
something.
I was notified that I had to do this today. So I wrote this today. So bear with me. As we celebrate Juneteenth, let us acknowledge that we yet to see the freedom that Americans promised. Though no longer in bondage, the chains still remain. The black man is still slain by the same overseer. The officer. You see, they coffin us for coughing, so I caution you to sneeze lightly. See, I believe that we might need reparation because our claims to this land are deeply rooted. Deeply rooted in this soil. They want to keep you muted or for you. They plan not to give us our mules or our 40 acres or the land that my ancestors died for. You see, they tried for more than 400 years to deny your greatness. See, to deny DEI is how I describe what hate is. You still refuse my equity for 4 centuries later? I'm telling you, America is really a hater. They know they can't beat me if they completely even the playing field. Even with the uneven, they still can't beat me, and I still can't break my will. I still rise. Till I die, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna give every inch of my soul, fighting until freedom. In the Justice League, I'm gonna keep on playing until we beat them. You see, I'm gonna feed them the vegetables that grew from the seeds that we planted next to the tree and the soil that we was rooted in. So tell the president, we tired of hearing about the plan for Black America. Just do it then. You giving everyone else their reparations. Y'all funding the murder of Palestinians to give other people a nation. America is complacent and complicit in genocide. And they never done nothing for blacks but kill us or let us die. So the bottom line is we've been raped, slaughtered, and executed on this land. So the blood of my people is deeply rooted in this land. God bless y'all.
Give it up for my son, the general. Good afternoon. Thank you to all our speakers. Thank you to everyone who's already gone. What an honor to have you all with us on Juneteenth. And like I said, good afternoon. My name is Carmen Perez Jordan. I'm the president and CEO of the Gathering for Justice. And I want to welcome you to this very, very, very special Radical Readz. As many of you know, the Gathering for Justice was founded in 2005 by the late, great Harry Belafonte, an artist, an activist, a civil rights leader who we miss very, very much. We are now in our 19th year of operation. I've been with the organization for 19 years and I'm not getting any younger, so we might be passing the baton sometime soon. But I'm proud to say that the Gathering for Justice has grown significantly over the last 2 decades. I'm really excited about this afternoon's Radical Readz, one of our most popular programs, which was inspired by Mr. Belafonte's idea of a radical book club. And we've been very proud to host other authors who are here with us, like our sister Linda Sarsour, Sean King, Matt Graham, Mark Lamont Hill, Yusuf Salam, and our most recent with our brother Angelo Pinto and Jamila T. Davis. This afternoon, Radical Readz features someone who is very near
confidence in the mirror, so I'm gonna have to cry in front of y'all. Who is very near and dear to me and all of us at the Gathering for Justice. We met Brea Baker in 2016 while she was an undergraduate at Yale University, organizing to change the names of the university buildings from slave owners to people of today. From there, she became a Justice League member, a staff member of the Gathering for Justice, a lead youth organizer with me at the first 2017 Women's March on Washington, and now Brea is my boss. She's a board member of the Gathering for Justice. She's also a big sister to my little boys and is one of my dearest friends and support. She is a mother, she is a wife, she's so many things, she's a daughter, and so it's a real joy to be able to host the book launch of her exceptional work. But to help me with this conversation, because clearly I can't do it by myself, I'm so excited and pleased to be joined by actor Nicholas Al Ash. As you know, he's a wonderful actor and director who starred in Ava DuVernay's critically acclaimed series, Queen Sugar. Please welcome Nicholas to the stage.
Testing, testing. Yeah, one more time for Carmen Perez Jordan. Yeah. You look incredible. I feel like you're the only one not affected by this heat. I just want to say that, my commitment to activism is through my art. Try not to roll your eyes, but that is a proper form of revolution. I was in New Orleans for 7 years working on a show that talked about farmers and land ownership, and thought that I had learned everything there was to learn in that space. And then Brea sends me a draft of this book, and my mind just kind of opened in a way. She just had a way of humanizing the history that made it more than facts and figures. So I'm really happy to be here and talk to Brea. And speaking of my friend, I gotta, list some stats really quick. Brea Baker has been working on the front lines for more than a decade. She believes deeply in nuanced storytelling and Black culture to drive change, and she has commented on race, gender, and sexuality for Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Refinery 29, Them, and more. Her writing has been featured in the anthologies Our History Has Always Been Contraband and No Justice, No Peace. A Yale alumna, Baker has been recognized as the 2017 Glamour Woman of the Year, a 2019 ID of the Rising, and a 2023 Creative Capital Awardee. She has spoken at the United Nations Girl Up Initiative, Yale Law School, and the Youth Summit in Hong Kong, the Museum of the City of New York, and elsewhere. She's also on the board of the Gathering for Justice and a member of the Justice League New York City. But as you said before, Brea is a lot more than these buzzwords and accolades. She is a sister, she's a daughter, she's a mother, a wife, a really good friend, a musician. The list goes on, and we should all be very grateful to have her on the front lines of this work. Okay, you want to start? I got a lot of questions about this book. Rudy, first of all, welcome.
Hey.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to start by talking about the fact that you wrote a book. Some of y'all can't even drop the email. And Brea has a whole book. Is this also getting you? You're loud. You can hear you fine. So talk to me about that. I feel like, as a writer, sometimes I'll have pieces of things or sketches of ideas, and the bigger thing that it becomes is an amalgamation of those things. Is that what happened with Rooted, or did you sit down and say, you know, this is unlike any essay or think piece I've done before, I want to talk about this?
No, it wasn't like what you said before as far as it being kind of this amalgamation and this building of things. I knew that at the core, I never was the kind of person who was like, oh, I always want to write a book and it's going to be about this topic and I'm going to be an expert on it. It was not that. It was that this was this family story that I was so proud of, and this book came right after the death of my grandfather. And so I was just searching for a way to feel closer to him. Felt like I, through my genealogical research, realized I come from such a great people and I want to share this story. And it's a relevant story. When I tell people, oh yeah, my family has land in North Carolina, a lot of Black people be like, oh yeah, and my family used to have land somewhere. And realizing that we all have this sort of story, even if we're not still connected to the land, is what made me want to write it. And then as far as the pieces, I was very nervous about like, okay, what does it mean to do a whole book though? And I shared some of my like messy drafts with friends, kind of the scene and stuff. But like I knew that to do the book justice, I had to hit certain points. And then that just kept turning into more points that I had to hit. Like I can't write a book about Black land theft and not talk about Indigenous people, right? I can't write a book about Black land theft and have it only be economic and never talk about environmental stewardship and ancestral wisdom and connections to this land beyond money. And so I think I'm giving myself so much credit though, because I think when I sat down to write the book, my grandpa was in my ear like, girl, you gotta do that though, and I'm gonna send you the great aunt so-and-so, and she's gonna tell you this, and that's gonna send you this person. That's 3 new chapters you didn't even know you was gonna write. So it really did feel like something and someone bigger than me was pushing me towards the components that would make up the book that is here. I think, just beginning to read your book, I thought your grandpa, I also thought your Aunt Karen, I felt so many of your family members, I also felt your parents' prayers, and I really loved the way in which you give a historical analysis. It reminded me of sitting with Mr. B and how you were just kind of like, look, I can't talk about this without talking about, like you said, Indigenous peoples and also the people from Brazil, from Mexico, from all these different parts of the world, and how interconnected it all is. Your book deeply dives into the history of land theft and displacement. Can you share some of the most surprising or impactful discoveries you made during your research?
Ooh, that's a good question. Most surprising. I mean, I think the things that I knew that I was going to find in my research were stories like Tulsa, right? Like the race massacres, the like big violence that is just unequivocal. But hearing about the more day-to-day violence was more alarming. And I think it was important for me to understand, because I think most of us who don't still live in the South or own land in the South have no idea how hard it is for a Black person to own land in the South into the 21st century. We just don't know how much landowners are up against, how much they're fighting. They're getting letters in the mail every day offering them a cent on the dollar of what their land is owed, but they also have so many needs and debts, and it's expensive to be an owner, and so it's hard to turn down that money while also knowing that there's so much money going out. I think one of the most alarming things that I realized was just how complicit the USDA, or the US Department of Agriculture, is in Black land theft, because this is an agency that was founded by President Lincoln. He called it the People's Agency. But a lot of our myths around Lincoln being a savior for Black people also go into what we think about the USDA. It has always been intent on keeping Black people working the land but never owning it. And to the point that you made before, they perfected that on us, and are now doing it to Chicagoans in California, to Marshallese people in Arkansas, to Puerto Ricans in their own island. Like this idea of, oh, we can make you break your back working for us, and then the moment you decide to buy a little acre for yourself, we're going to snatch it from under you and corral you into this ghetto, is what they did to us and did to Indigenous Americans that are doing to others. And so that's why it really felt important to me that everyone understand what has happened to Black Americans, so we not only stop the process for us, but then realize that it's happening now for farm workers around the country.
What I love though is that all of that information is juxtaposed with wellness. I feel there's a real ancestral connection, and it talks about what their intention for our lives may have been. Can you talk a little bit more about when you realized that the revolution needed to prioritize wellness and rest, and when did those become intrinsic?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, that was like a winding journey for me, because I always know like, oh, burnout isn't good, but it always was like, you can't burn yourself out, or then you can't continue to work yourself further, you know. So it's still connected to productivity. But I think like when I sat down to write the book, I was so focused on the financial aspect of it that Black Americans had assets stolen from us. But when I sat down with my uncles and aunts in North Carolina, they weren't immediately telling me, yeah, they took this much money from me and my land was worth this. They were telling me, we grew up and organic was just our way of life. That wasn't a premium you had to pay. You went outside and you were growing food. They had their own big pig. You know, what was it, Big Lucy? Big Lucy. They had their own pigs and livestock and groceries, and the air was fresh, the water was clean, they ran around without shoes on. And that lifestyle is so inaccessible now to most of us. And you can tell, we're tired, we're exhausted, we're getting sick earlier. That's also something that I saw in my family, was just, you know, cancer happening in such a rapid, lethal way, and at the younger and younger stages. My cousin Lene passed away just before my grandfather at the age of 25 or 26 from breast cancer. And that was really hard to watch her go through and see. And then I turned around a few years later, my best friend had a very rare form of blood cancer. All under the age of 30, Black people, and I can't prove in each of these instances what was the thing, there's so many variables, but I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that we are taking in toxins, and that is not accidental. Because the water they're making us drink, they're not drinking that. In Flint, they literally were bringing in their own private water because they said, I know that's not for me, but that could be for y'all. And so I think I just turned around and was like, they're killing us fast and slow. I don't want to be a part of either of those. I want to live, I want to have joy, not just like I want to be in resistance all the time, but I want my son to grow up and eat great food and run around and know what peace and happiness looks like, and to not constantly be at war with the world and himself. And that is a lot easier to do on your own land. And so I think that was the narrative that kept jumping out at me, was that land was safety, enclave, to tuck you and your family away from the eyes of this white supremacist society that is actually trying to say, I want to extract as much labor from you as possible, as much energy from you as possible, and leave you with just enough to keep going for me in the system. And that is just not what I'm interested in for me, for any of y'all in this room, for your family, for your loved ones. So I really became to see that land ownership was so integral to the joy that we want to access.
So, as you know, Brea, one of our favorite parts of our Radical Read series is when we bring friends and family of our featured author together to read an excerpt from the book. Brea didn't really know who was participating or what they're reading today, so we hope to do you proud. Join us today in order of appearance are some people who are very special to Brea. So, welcome. Zakia Ansari, Mariah and Davis Baker, Stanley Fritz, Linda Sarsour, David Baker, Jana P., Dr. Tammy Lee, Louis Hernandez, Reverend Stephen Green, Matt Graham Jr., and Tamika Green.
Witnessing. I'm reconstructing a world where Black people thrive and relish in the as Reverend Garrison Frazier told Union General Williams to come to Sherman in 1865. My grandfather envisioned America where Black people are surrounded by love and sustained by the land. On August 15, 2021, nearly a decade after he bought his land, his dream was manifested when I married the love of my life on Baker's Acres on Fairview Plaza land. Our guests lovingly know the significance of that location, and our ceremony we addressed it head on. This land was hard fought by generations of Black people like my grandfather, who knew that Black land ownership was essential to true freedom. But before then, and long before colonization, this land was home to the lovely people for at least 14,000 years. According to tribal history, the Lovely tribe is the largest tribe in North Carolina and the largest tribe east of the Mississippi River. A Native American elder of the Ojibwe tribe, Mary Lyons, once said, when we talk about land, land is part of who we are. It's a mixture of our blood, our past, our current, and our future. What better symbol of love, legacy, and loyalty is there?
My wife, Brea, and I now live in Atlanta on 1 acre of land. Each morning, Brea and I wake up to go. Each morning, Brea and I wake up and go about our morning routine. Let the dog out, use the bathroom, check out the chickens. As I write this, we have 2 roosters and 9 hens. There's Scooby, who looks a lot like an owl, and Angelica, named after the bossy little girl from Readz. Then there's Logan, after our cousin, who's nicknamed as Chicken. And we got little brother's name, Louis Mulan, and Reptile's name also comes from Readz. My sister Brooke, named Henrietta, and my sister Brea, named Zen, after our nephew and godson. My father said that we needed disco and a chicken George, so those 2 names couldn't be followed. April, like Tejano singer Savannah Quintanilla Perez's childhood hen, and lastly, Ruby the Rhode Island Red. When we first got them, all 11 chickens lived in a cardboard home in our garage until they were big enough to move into the chicken coop that we built for them. We got that thing. Soon, my morning routine will require a walk into our backyard to gather eggs and make sure no chickens are harmed in the night. Each morning, as I feed them and replenish their water, I have to remind myself that we built this life and this coop ourselves. My wife and father-in-law studied other coops and raised bed configurations before drawing up the blueprints for our own. During the week, they traded messages planning for the purchases that were ahead, and during the weekend, we executed. Between writing sessions, I was grateful to be their beautiful apprentice, taking on whatever tasks they delegated to me. That position gave me the chance to watch them at work, one the miniature version of the other. Watching them cut planks of wood on the table saw before screwing them together in new formations, I was struck by how easily the work flowed.
I wasn't only the school builder, but Ryan and Tony Harris also called me a historian, because I was always having pose of them in action. For posterity, I'd say. Really, I wanted, I needed to remember the brother I had. In my wildest dreams, I never imagined I'd take on projects like this. Building a chicken coop most certainly felt like a job for actual architects. Surely we could buy one that came in large parts and only in one assembly. But Mariah told me I had different plans. Plans of raised garden beds for the vegetables with fruits like arugula, tomatoes, asparagus, rhubarb, peppers, spinach, broccoli, and cauliflower. A peach tree and berry bushes lining the beds, all pushed back deep into our acre on the land. A wooden chicken coop to keep our heads warm. A walled-in chicken run to roll free of holes flying overhead. And a large barrel to collect fresh rainwater. Their confidence was infectious. Working at their side, I never doubted that we would do hard things. My mother reminded me of how far I've come. I can't believe you got great touch with chickens. She said to Mariah, But they keep right now, but I'm around. So let's see how much of a run-up and big ugly. We all got the truth.
I know I'm only supposed to read, but I went to Brea, and I'm so proud of you, and just feel a lot of joy being here in this space. And this gave me a lot of joy today that I was looking for. So I knew there was a reason that I came all the way from very far away. Plans to be here, and I would go to many faraway lands for you guys, so congratulations. Okay, back to my reading excerpt. Prior to Mariah, I was not a very outdoorsy person. I enjoyed bakers, bakers in small doses, always returning to my urban or suburban life after the brief retreat. I'd never let anyone imagine what it would look and feel like to grow my own food, raise my own chickens, and generally be hands-on with the planet around me. Mariah, on the other hand, had a childhood full of fresh produce, fishing trips, and other reminders that the natural world was in abundance to offer. It is through my wife Mariah that I learned to stop over-contextualizing my love of Black-owned land. You can't love the land through proximity, she once told me. You have to put your own hands in the dirt. Initially, I was low-key offended. Was she insinuating that my love wasn't as real as hers? No, she was inviting me into a deeper relationship that wasn't exclusively predicated on the past. Ancestors, former deeds, what was, how about what is? We have the chance now, she reminded me, to be land stewards and to share that love with our children who will only know ownership. It's been somewhat ironic to truly fall in love with land through my wife, considering I had access to land long before she and I ever met.
I was born and raised up north, but both of our parents made it a point to ensure we had regular visits to North Carolina. My first visit to our land came when I was still forming in my mother's womb. At that time, and for the most of my life, our extended Baker school family held just over 100 acres of land collectively. I can only remember some of the trips we took with our family land. So I asked my father how frequently he remembers bringing us down the south. All the time, quickly before having, at least 2 or 3 times a year for specificity. What were we traveling to for when Thanksgiving was still celebrated in New Jersey, I asked him. My father thought for a moment before shrugging her mind, just because. Like his father, Alfred, my dad took any chance he got to pack up his wife in the car and take the drive down. My mother had just made it out of her first trimester with me when she and my father found out about the death in the Baker family. That was like every week. A funeral was sure cause to be a community with loved ones. To North Carolina, we went. My parents had been married for a few years by this point, but my mom was still leading cousins and aunts. My father had 16 aunts and uncles, and literally hundreds of cousins. When my aunt Sue called out for someone to help her cook the chicken, my mother quickly volunteered. She may not have been a country girl, but she knew how to fry some chicken. This was the perfect chance to get closer to her in-laws.
Grateful for the help, Aunt Sue told my mother to wait right there in the front yard for Uncle Plummer. Before my mother could ask why she wasn't being led inside to the kitchen, Uncle Plummer emerged in denim overalls. With little fanfare, wrung the chicken's neck and went about his business. My mother stood there, mouth agape, as the chicken ran around the yard without his head. First frantically, then slowly before coming to a stop and spitting his death. My mother didn't help cook the chicken that night. She didn't even eat it when someone else stepped in for her to scan and clean. Instead, she had my father drive her to Golden Corral for a meal with a little less. Most of my visits down south have been for funerals. Distant family for whom attending a funeral is how we show up for the living. Close loved ones whose long since remain with us to this day. with not returning members home to the ground. More often than not, our visits revolve around family reunions and church conventions that double as family reunions. On the lakefront shores, a horde of black bodies wearing baggy shirts with large trees printed on the front. Printed signs recapping our genealogical history and documenting the many branches of the Baker and Stroll lines. An uncle on the grill, a parent juggling a sleeping child, and a playground. Older kids leading younger ones on adventures. Elders sucking their teeth at the short shorts and the crop tops. A few cousins putting holes in the lake.
Throughout my childhood, I was surrounded by vivid scenes of Black people enjoying themselves on land. But because those trips always ended eventually, I never accepted it as my way of life on earth. What did become ingrained in my psyche was a love of communion, the sound of roaring laughter and cards smacked into the tables during spades games, the smell of freshly butchered meat and salty sweat from working just harder, the feel of wrinkled hands caressing smooth babies incredulously, proof of a continuing lineage. I asked my father what stood out about our trips down south. 10-hour drives with several kids is no easy feat. I wanted to know what made the trip so worth it for him. I love seeing you all with Grandpa, he said to me. He loved the trips just as much as you all did, and he took you everywhere with him. Though I can't recall, my dad reminded me that my grandfather took all of his grandchildren fishing for the first time. Only one of us caught anything at the small pond where he lined us up that day, but catching fish wasn't the objective at all. He wanted us to love the land as much as he did. There were so many times as I researched and wrote this manuscript that I wish my grandfather was still alive, that I could share my discoveries with him to change his perspective on a few points, and have him change mine as well. Even though I still don't want to bake my own cook or exert myself too much, his granddaughter loves the land.
On Juneteenth weekend in 2022, Tony and I set out for a road trip from Georgia to West Virginia, where a wedding and family reunion was to be held. When driving with I-95 north from Georgia through South and then North Carolina, the highway was littered with deer carcasses. The bodies were either hanging by vehicles or floated in left and bed. No one except vultures benefits from the roadkill. Sometimes the vultures fly overhead before sweeping in on the body to the fire. They peck away, finding nourishment in others' demise. Other vultures stand on two legs, but they feast on death just the same. These vultures call themselves private developers, and they wait for a black family to become just vulnerable enough before they swoop in. And when they do, those vultures take land and letters, leaving pavement and cookie-cutter buildings in their wake. The rest of us are left with no choice but to drive down the 6-lane interstate highways, lined by pine trees and dead animals, wondering what was there before. I didn't always wonder about before. Rural countryside before turnpikes, cities before skyscrapers, North Carolina before plantations, America before colonization. That world felt so far away and impossible to return to. And so I began seriously considering what reparations and sustainability would look like in practice. To reconstruct this nation the way we should have done after the Civil War. To dream about the wildest imaginations about what reclamation would look like for Black and Indigenous people, and thus the rest of the country.
In the beginning, when I close my eyes, I imagine a world where Black people are joyful and the earth is sacred and thriving. Leah Thomas. Mother Earth is not a resource, she is an heirloom. David Pina, your tribe. In the beginning, there was land.
And the land was no one's because the land was evidence, an extension of us. The land was living, taking as much as she gave. She spoke to us, and we helped to cherish and cultivate her. She listened, held, and fed us. And when other living things died, the land took them in. She let the dead help us keep on living and learning, evolving, and teaching. In the beginning, generational wealth was the plant, and all that she bears. Surplus was an opportunity to lead a happier, healthier life. Everyone had access to the same air, water, and right to housing. That is not to say that certain tribes and communities didn't succumb to greed, but that capitalism was not the normative social order. Before outsiders tried to outsmart the land, whose wisdom and memory reached further back than theirs, the people learned from and tended the land in a loving exchange. Settler colonialism, the violent replacement of indigenous peoples by often European outsiders, created deep inequity as land became a chess piece with power.
And I've been here all the while. Dr. Lane Roberts right. Native people have long established their connection to the land they occupy through medicinal, food, and spiritual traditions that utilize plants and animals indigenous to the area. Removal meant that indigenous people were not only physically uprooted, but spiritually uprooted. And when it came to black people, it doesn't continue reminding us that slavery then required the magic of property. The more land Europeans could push indigenous people off of, the more demand for forced labor to produce ecologically unsustainable yet highly lucrative amounts of cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugar cane. Men with alabaster skin and bleached worldviews wanted a monopoly of life itself. They literally and figuratively lassoed their surroundings into submission. They did not realize that their existence depended on the health of the entire ecosystem, nor did they understand what life and indigenous people, no matter which continent you call home, inherently understood that once relationship
I read about her and our relationship because there's a part that didn't, and it is in the book, so you'll get there, but where they were alluding to is that, again, I've always had access to land, but I didn't really know the value of what I had until I was with Mariah. But her paternal grandmother always says that my kids love the land because we never had any. And I thought that that was so profound and like heartbreaking to an extent, but also kind of reveals that Black people love the land even without the consistent access. And imagine what we can do when we do have that and we are on it. But more than anything, hearing y'all all read it just reminded me of how familial the whole book is, how everything is. So hearing my family reading this book just meant everything. So thank y'all so much. One of my mentors, Madeline, always says we are land-based people without no lands. And it's so true because I think with your book, when I was reading it, I was able to connect as a Chicana, indigenous to this land, and not being recognized as indigenous to this land, and also the parallels that you made to other countries in the way in which they've taken our land, right? And so I want to just ask, rooted traces, the experiences of your own family's history, right? Of land loss in Kentucky and North Carolina. How has your family's story shaped? How has your family's story shaped your understanding of land ownership and its importance for Black and Indigenous communities? And actually, let's give all the Baker family here a round of applause. All the Baker family and Baker fingers. Yes. Zen's over there, my friend was doing a little dance. Yeah, I mean, there's this video that I caught of my dad when Zen was now walking. He was so little though, and he was just sitting, oh, no, don't you unplug that. Get the baby. But Zen was sitting in my dad's lap, and my dad he didn't even know we were recording him. But my dad was just like, Zen, like, this is yours, and this is what you come from. And I think that moment really captured what it is for me, is there is such a like disorientingness to like not knowing where you come from, not knowing the full story of it. I remember, and this is not something that ended up in the book, but just a personal perspective. Growing up in New York, many of you who grew up here can attest that everyone is not from here. Like, everyone is migrants for the most part. It's all, a lot of Caribbean Americans, a lot of Latin American communities. And so growing up in high school, everyone had an Independence Day. I just remember that. Like, when it was Puerto Rican Day, you knew the flags was there. When it was Dominican Day parade, the flags was out. And I just, they still here. Last June 9th, they was out. I'm outside. Okay. And I just remember being like, what is supposed to be my day? Is that July 4th? No, it can't be Independence Day generally. And I just remember having so many identity crises because I felt like, well, you know, I tried the whole, but I am of this African diaspora, and you do the ancestry test, it tells you your percentages, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with that info? Like, do I teach myself Wolof and like try to be Senegalese? Like, that's not my culture anymore. And it could have been, but it is not. And I think I had to get to a place where being Black American was enough. And I wasn't trying to chase an identity somewhere else or a homeland somewhere else. That I didn't need to like flee to Ghana to find myself, but that I could find myself right here, and that this was my birthright. So.
That's really helpful. You know, I love this radical Readz moment that just happened because it really was a microcosm of what your experience will be reading the book. There is humor, you know, Readz dropping gems. You might trip up and stutter a little bit and have to read that sentence again. So it just really, what happened just now was like fully my experience reading it. I actually printed it, the PDF, and was like highlighting and annotating. And I remember you said that chapter 8 was your favorite, which talks about financial literacy. Can you talk to us a little bit more about financial literacy, or as my therapist calls it, financial sobriety? You know, and do we need an accountant to get there? Like, what has that journey been like for you?
Yeah, okay, so first of all, I just was like, let me see again what the chapter is. So Nick has been a part of this process from the beginning. So the chapter 8 that you saw, it has evolved. So I think that is now like chapter 11 or something because they split. So that's also like a fun thing from the conversations we've had. But the chapter that you're talking about is the one that's the racial wealth gap as we know it chapter. And I like that you reframed it from financial literacy to sobriety because I think so many of the conversations that I grew up with were, oh, Black people just need more financial literacy. Just you gotta learn how to budget. And like, yeah, budgeting skills are important, but it's like, I got 15 cents and you telling me to budget it better. But y'all took my money and my land and telling me to budget the crumbs left. And so I think that's what that chapter became for me, was really exposing just how much was taken. Because even some of us Black Americans talk about reparations as it's not possible, it's not worth investing in, or that as if it's a handout. And it's so important to remember that if someone takes your bike and you say, I want it back, that's not you asking for a handout. So reparations and restitution are not handouts. And when you look at the chapter, Racial Wealth Gap as we know it, and you see the numbers stacked, you realize that any reparations plan that's been proposed is deeply conservative. It's already a discount. You're already getting it for buy one, get one free. So don't try and further discount the reparations. Like if we were asking for the full amount plus the interest, it would bankrupt the nation. And we have the right to do that if we wanted to. But we're not. We are a kind, benevolent people, and we are not even asking for the full amount that we could be. And so to me, I think that those empower me to be really grateful that we're not, and hope that we don't start asking for the full amount, because literally we just started looking at these military bases, started looking at the Pentagon, started looking at all the money that just went to Ukraine and Israel instead of going to our communities. We find all the money for reparations and then some. We'd be able to do universal health care, we'd be able to pay off student loan debt. There's so much that we can't do because they're too busy telling us that we're asking for handouts. And so that chapter was really important for me to go say, there's too much wealth in this nation, as a matter of fact. And we have plenty to redistribute because we already just redistributed it to white people. On that
note, I know that we have some time for Q&A before we wrap, so if we can maybe have one or two folks, please come on up. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go.
Hey, can you hear me? Is this fine? Right here. Hey, I'm Tracy Weldon. Congratulations, Brea. I met Brea and Mariah when they first moved to Atlanta. We bonded over a couple of things. I have like a cast in nutrition law, and like everything comes back down to the land and how you can be healthy. So I was really excited when I saw that you were writing this book. So my question is, what type of change do you hope to inspire? So after I read it, what would you love for me to do as a result of that?
Yes, I love that question so much. Yeah. I think that the main things that I want first for Black people who are reading the book is to talk more to your elders. Even if your story is not my family had land rights in this country. Even if your story is Caribbean American, we are all still landed people who are severed, having experiencing a severed relationship. And I think the more that we talk about it, the better. And what I learned when doing this research was that a lot of my elders weren't talking about it. One, because they thought that we didn't care. And so it's so important that we show that we do, and that there is a generation that wants the mantle passed to them, the baton passed to them. But then because they thought nothing would change. And I think the more that we can show them that number one is just cathartic to express this, but number two, there is things that we can do about it. My girl Hannah is here. She works with an organization called Where's My Land? And they every single day are helping Black families to research instances of land theft, even those from the 20th century and beyond, and using that documentation to get their land back. And have successful campaigns in California. They're bringing this to the Midwest and the South. And I think they're showing people that your oral history and your records and your story matters, and you can do something with it, and you can get restitution, and you don't have to wait for some fictitious, policy that's going to come down from the federal government. We can advocate at a local level. So that's one as far as like what I would love for Black people to be doing when they read the book. For white people who are reading the book, I would love you to be doing the same, talking to your elders, learning the story, because there's so many of you who don't know what side of history your ancestors stood on, and so you don't even know where you fit into that narrative. And I think knowing helps you to reconcile and decide how you move forward as a person, as an ally. And this, again, like non-Black people as well, you don't have the same history in this country as white Americans do. But again, everything they perfected on us has always come back to you. When they ban DEI on us first, then it comes back to queer people, then it comes to Asian Americans, and it continues to go on and on. So please care about what's happening to us before it gets to you. But then lastly, above all, the biggest thing is I would love everyone to read this book and think, we literally need reparations. Not, it would be nice, but like we need it. And all of these conversations around racial justice are gonna go in circles until we actually talk about reparations. We don't need more commissions or task force. We studied it all. You can get this book, there's a bunch of other books that's already been studied, and I would love for people to, like when you hear someone saying that, oh yes, I'm gonna study it, but it's not right there. It's been studied a lot. Have you read those studies? Take the weekend to come back to me and tell me what you're gonna do to execute and implement. And I think that's important because we've been in this like merry-go-round and this revolving door of studying the issue. And we know what needs to happen, and we just have to do that.
We have another question. Yes, my name is Brea. I recently graduated law school and soon to be admitted.
You know,
one of the interesting things that I learned in property law is that I know your book is really centered around the South also, but that even in like here in New York and Long Island, like a lot of deeds historically say like Black people cannot buy these houses. And that's something that people were advocating for, and people are actually like pushing against, saying that it's a part of history and we can't take it out of deeds. Even driving here, my dad was like, Central Park was taken away from wealthy Black families, and how people tried to fight for it and weren't able to get it back. So I guess, how would you, it's a similar question to what she asked, but how can we now take your book and kind of like make it so that people everywhere, like how do they do the research? How do they basically do what you did and kind of make the impacts in other areas? I know that there's a bunch of things in other states that people see in their own communities and are trying to change. So how would you say we start the work in our own communities of taking what you did and essentially kind of like pushing that in our communities?
She's so smart. Look at you. She's so brilliant. Yes, great question, Sissy. I would say that number one, yes, what you're talking about, I think that can go to deeds, HOAs. There's a lot of racism in housing. So I focus a lot of the book on, again, like she said, the South and the West, or more rural areas in general. But I say in a section of the book, while they were redlining the north, this is what's happening down south. And so we talk about that, and essentially, I think, number one, this information is so accessible. If you are someone who's saying, I think my family used to own land somewhere, as long you don't even need to know exactly what town. If you know the county, you can go to the county registrar's office or a registered deeds office or clerk's office. It might have a different name depending on what part of the country you're in. But these are all public records. All you need is the county name and the last name of the person that you're looking for. So I knew there were certain land purchases that I was searching for. But then I found so many more because when I searched Baker in a specific county, I realized that we actually owned way more land than I ever thought we did, and ever knew was hot. And so that's how I uncovered this story, because I had only ever known, oh yeah, it's 100 acres, that was monumental to me. But in doing the research and going to the county offices myself, I realized we used to have 600 acres of land in our family. And so people say, you come so far, and that is true, but we've also gone back. My family had more equity 100 years ago than we do now, while everyone is telling me that we're a post-racial America. And so we have to dig into the records that we're talking about there. have like disposable income. And all it takes is one medical emergency. All it takes is sending one child to school without a scholarship. And there goes anything that you had in your savings. And going to Yale, I saw my peers, that was not their reality. And you see the racial wealth gap. That's why I don't really talk about like pay equity anymore. Because it's like, even if I get the same salary as them, I'm not getting the same inheritance. When someone passes on, I go to a funeral and I grieve, and that's the end of my story. When someone passes on, they go to a funeral and then go to a will reading, and then their life is set up. And then they start a business, and then they buy a home, and now they're doing vacations in Jackson Hole, and it's like, huh? And it's like, but if we had a little slice of Green Haven to go to, even if I didn't want to keep it, if I said, oh my gosh, I need the money now, but I get to sell my land on my own terms as opposed to being snatched from under me, that's a different narrative. So yeah, birthright was a really important word for me to reuse because again, I sort of felt like I didn't have a claim anywhere. It was like, okay, well, I've been away from the African continent too long to try and go back there without being a colonizer myself. So what does that look like? And then I just realized like the prevailing narrative in this nation has always been that there's more than enough land to go around. That was always the indigenous perspective. It was not the indigenous people were taken advantage of in this like, oh, we were just naive. Like, no, they just knew there was an abundance. We don't have to steal from each other. There's plenty to go around, my friend. And then that was hoarded and destroyed and turned into this current system of property where you can't set foot on someone's grass without having a permit. So we could talk about this all day.
I know. We have one last question, and then we got some announcements.
Hey everyone, Zakia, fan of Brea, but now a deep fan of her mama. That's Thank you for showing us how you hold up your children in such love and power. So, Brea, have you written anything in the book that talks about any tensions that happen throughout the whole process of handling them between the family? Dealing with some of that in my own family now, and what would you say to family members who might be having tension, arguing over what seems to me ridiculous, but they might be watching now, but what seems ridiculous about the importance of them having a united front to like own and really claim this land?
Yeah, ooh, this is such a good question, Z. I'm so glad that you brought this up. First and foremost, I'm going to say that I don't blame us for this tension because the reality is the way that we owned land before was always more collectivist. And so it avoided the tension because it was communal. It was siblings buying land together, parents buying land with children, church congregations buying land together. That's actually the story in my family. My great-great-great-grandfather, Louis Baker, bought land for his family, but then he bought land with his church community. And he was a founding member of that church where they put in together for that deed. And so when you have that collectivist mindset, it's easier for people to think of it as ours. But the moment it becomes, well, one person's name's got to be on the deed, whose is it? And this has to be someone's, and that person is responsible, and if you don't, we'll take the land back from you, then it becomes a lot more individualistic where it's mine, mine, mine. I also think that there's a specific narrative that most Black landowners end up, which is heirs property law. And some of y'all might have heard that too, because there's a lot of studies about the negative impacts of heirs property law. I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but the short story is that if I have 2 children and I pass away and I don't have a trust for my land, then the land goes to my 2 children and they're heirs property owners. Now, when I only have 2 kids, that's fine. Now let's go back. Now, if I have 17 kids, like my grandfather was one of 17, right? And like you do when you're working land with your families and you want to have a bunch of kids to help, you got 17 kids, you pass away, they each have a share of the land. But no one, it's not like you can say, oh, this acre is mine and that acre is yours. It's just, we all own a percentage of this land. We can't make a decision on the land without each person signing off on it. You can only sell your share of the land. And so that creates a lot of problems because if I want to build a house on this part of the land, I got to get all 16 of my siblings to agree on it. And then that's just if it's just us. But if each of my siblings have kids, now that's dozens of more people who are part of it. So it gets to this place where there are just so many cooks in the kitchen and you need all of their sign off. And then the other thing that happens with heirs property law is that it's so confined. There's a lot of constraints, things you can't do. Another thing that I was surprised to find out. So if you are an heirs property landowner and a hurricane comes in, or natural disaster is unexpected and destroys something on your land, but you're an heirs property owner, FEMA will not give you any funding, any loans, any grants, anything to help with your land because they consider it a dirty deed. And so to get any support, you then have to kind of sell the land or take shares from family members. So it just creates unnecessary tension. And there's so many instances of the last part is that, you know, family members will move away and you have a family member who lives up north. They get a letter in the mail that says, hey, did you know that you own 5% of this acreage down south? I'll buy your percentage for $10,000. If you didn't know that you owned land or you had no plans of living on it, you're like, easy money. And you don't know how much harder you're making life for the people who do want to live on that land, because now you just sold your share to an outsider who is now going to block any of the family members from doing anything that they want to do except selling it. I'm not going to sign off on anything unless you want to sell it. And so now it just leaves the land in limbo unless you decide to sell it. And that happens to so many families. So it hurts my heart because I think there is a lot of unnecessary tension that the legal system and the property system in this country incentivizes. There is a brilliant, brilliant woman, Lauren Rosa Miller. I'm going to be in conversation with her in Greenville, South Carolina. She is a 4th generation landowner in Georgia, and she inherited land from her father. And she talks about this often and talks about how we have to just have more proactive conversations. The tension often happens because Black people are getting land when someone dies. That's not a good time to be mediating and having big conversations. If you have conversations before about what people want done with the land, what matters to people, if you talk about that, you might learn this family member wants nothing to do with the land. So let's not even get them in the mix of it. But this family member, it means everything to, and let's make sure that they're a big part of it. And I think the more that we are just open about the conversations and we give space and say, it's okay if you don't want to have anything to do with it, but we should all be caring about preserving it. I might not want to live on it. I might have a nice apartment that I love in a city and that's the life that I want. But I still know that it means a lot to our family and it's worth protecting. And I think if we can all get on one accord about that, the rest is small fish to fry. And I think that's just the part, is we gotta remember that we're up against a behemoth giant system that wants our land from us. And if we fight inwardly, they're gonna get it every time. Every single time.
Yes. All right, I'm getting the wrap up time. So let's do this. I want to thank all of you so much for being here. We want to make sure that we're selling books, that we're signing books. So I'm going to just give a shout out to everyone. Brea, thank you so much for trusting us to be your book launch, to showcase your exceptional work. I want to also make sure that all of you, if you haven't done so yet, please purchase a book. We have a person who is selling books right here. Yes. And Brea will do a book signing as well. And then for those of you watching online, the book is available everywhere books are sold. I have it on Audible. Buy the book and get it on Audible so you can hear Brea's beautiful voice. I also want to thank you, Nick. This was awesome. I hope we get to work with each other again. Thank you for being part of this powerful conversation. I also want to thank our cast, Mariah, Zakiya, Stanley, Reverend Green, Tamika D. Mallory, Matt Graham, Jana P., Dr. Tammy Lee, Linda Sarsour, Lewis, David Baker, everybody. Thank you so much, Debbie and the team at the center at West Park. And also, finally, many thanks to our talented performers, my son, soloist Chelsea Crawford, and saxophone player Malcolm Seals. I want to thank our team. Thank you, Jules, Kevin, I think Janice is here. Yo, we've been working this and we try to keep all the secrets. Brooke is not here. She helped keep all the secrets, so please thank you, Brooke. This too, we hope you will continue to support the Gathering for Justice and stay up to date with our work. Follow us on Instagram and X at Gather for Justice, and please consider a donation so we could keep all our programming free. We love all of you, and I just want to say, Brea, some of us weren't able to make it to your birthday, and so we want to wish you a happy 30th birthday. And so if you all will join me in singing happy birthday to Brea Baker, we got some cake for you. All right.
1, 2, 3.
You know, we still in a pandemic a little bit.
Yes, I'm gonna be here tonight, but before y'all get up, thank you so much for coming. I know some of y'all came from out of state, some of y'all was in traffic. It means the world for y'all to be here with me on Juneteenth, supporting me in this way. I felt it yesterday and I feel it in person today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm at a loss for words. Thank you. Oh, I do right here?
Hey, Brea.
Hi, Brea.
Something's wrong with her. So I think I'm going to be the one talking in this one, and she'll just ad-lib as
Congratulations.
We are so proud of you. Obviously, we're not there right now, which we wish we could be, but circumstances, work, and what have you just wouldn't allow it. But we just want to tell you how proud we are, and we thought it fitting that for your book, Rooted, we were in one of my happy places, one of our happy places.
I love it here.
And that's the garden. She eats and I grow. What can I say?
Baker's Acres.
We're proud of you. Continue pushing, continue pressing, and just do what you do best, and that's just be you. Mom and Dad would be so proud, and we are proud as an extension of them. So congratulations again on your book release, and we are looking for it to be the bestseller that it already is. Be blessed.
We love you so much.
Love you, Brea.
Happy birthday, fam.
Hey,
Loving
Brea.
you.
We love you. God's blessings upon you. We can't be there, but we still love you. You know that.
From your favorite uncle and your favorite alpha. Sorry, I led with the favorite uncle part because I'm the favorite alpha.
Short
love
video.
Love you, Brea. Happy birthday. We celebrate and love you, darling.
Bye.
Be well.
Go ahead. Because when you put something in the ground, it gives life.
Didn't you come over here for your produce? Go back over, and you know this man. It's awesome.
Yes. Oh, yeah.